what happens for a lot of guys is that when they go on a date with a woman that they're very attracted to or they really want things to work out with, they end up behaving in ways that push the woman away or that turn her off, right? So what I'm going to explain for you in this video are 3 simple things that you can do when you go on a first date with a woman that will make her begin to fall for you right away, right? She will begin to feel sexually attracted to you, she'll begin to feel comfortable around you, and she'll become open to something happening between you and her, right? So let's begin with number 1. Help both you and her to be real around each other, right? So most guys, when they go on a date, they put on an act of being nicer, more polite, more reserved than they actually are or want to be. The woman then senses the act and she acts in return, right? So the guy is being much more polite and more cautious, more tense, and so forth than he normally is or wants to be. He's not like that when he's around his close buddies or he's interacting with a woman that he's not very attracted to or not attracted to at all. Right? He can be more of himself around women like that, but when he's around a woman that he finds very attractive or that he wants things to work out with, he wants to show her that he's very polite, that he's very this or he's very that, and so forth. But the woman then senses the act. She senses that she's not really interacting with the real version of him. There's a bit of an act being put on by him to the point where she doesn't feel comfortable just being herself now. Right? She's got to be nicer and more reserved and more polite now, and there's that distance between them. Additionally, sometimes it's not just about being nice or polite. Sometimes a guy is so used to being serious and direct and straightforward and neutral about everything. Everything is just serious for him. As a result, he may sit down to a date with a woman and be very serious and ask her lots of serious questions and have a serious, logical discussion with her about things. What do you do? How long have you been doing that? Oh, really? And did you study to do that? Oh, where did you study? What did you think of the university? How was your experience at university? And so forth. He wants to have a serious discussion with her. He wants to show her that he's a serious guy. As a result, just like with the guy who's being more polite and nice than he wants to be, when a guy is being very serious and asking a lot of logical questions and so forth, there is also that distance between them, right? It's a couple of strangers trying to have a conversation and get to know each other and see if they like each other. So what I want you to try to remember at this point is a time when you were feeling a bit inward, right? You weren't really feeling like you wanted to interact socially with people. And then you started interacting with someone who was in a bit more of a lighthearted, easygoing sort of mood. They were being a bit more playful. They were willing to not be serious about everything and so forth. And as a result, your mood then started to lift. You started to feel a bit more relaxed, a bit more open socially. You started to have a bit of a joke around. You started to be more lighthearted. You started to feel better. The interaction then ended up feeling fun. It felt like something that you were happy to be a part of. Right, so with this first point here of helping both you and her to be more real around each other, it's important to understand that sometimes a woman will attend a date and she'll be feeling a bit insecure, feeling a bit inward. And if she then senses that the guy is putting on a bit of an act of being more polite than he normally is, more reserved, he's being a bit hesitant and cautious with what he's saying and so forth, in most cases, she then doesn't feel safe to be herself around him. She feels like this is a bit of an awkward interaction. Yet if she sits down to a date with a guy who is taking the date seriously, but isn't taking everything so seriously, is able to relax and have a bit of a joke around, be lighthearted, be easygoing, not feel like he has to put on an act of being nicer than he normally is or more polite than he normally is or wants to be and so forth, then she will sense that, okay, this seems like a real interaction here. This guy is showing me who he really is. He's not putting on a fake act of being nicer than he normally is or more polite than he normally is to hopefully get into her panties. And he's not what women see as a boring type of guy who is just being serious and neutral and logical all the time and wanting to have a serious conversation with her and talk for hours about things that don't really need to be discussed in that sort of detail and with that level of seriousness, right? So what's a way that you can break both you and her out of being so serious? Well, number 2, playfully challenge her at times rather than only trying to get along with her in a nice way. So, for example, if a guy's talking to a woman and she says that she works as a secretary, then the guy who's being more nice, more polite than he normally is or wants to be might say something like, oh, that's really cool. Like, how long have you been doing that? And, oh, do you enjoy your work? And so forth, right? He'll want to have that sort of conversation with her to show her that he's a really nice guy, that he cares about her, that he's interested in her. A guy who's very serious and logical might say something like, oh, a secretary, that's great. Yeah, my cousin actually works as a secretary. She works for blah, 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 blah. And he'll tell her about that and then ask her some serious questions about it. Yet, a guy who is just going to be more lighthearted and help both him and her to be more real around each other and not have to put on an act, right? And just have that back and forth conversation where you're just being easygoing, playful, and real, will say something like this. Oh, a secretary. Okay, cool. Well, if we start dating, then I'll just forward my calls to you. You can answer them for me. That'll work out great. And of course, he's just joking there, right? She's going to get that he understands that she works as a secretary and she takes calls, and now he's going to start forwarding his calls to her, right? It's just a play on the situation. It's just being lighthearted about it. For example, if she says that she works as a dietitian, well, there goes suggesting that we catch up for donuts on the second date. I guess we'll have to go and eat some fruit together. Once again, he's only joking, and she knows that. He's being a bit playfully challenging in a moment like that. He's messing with her a little bit to help both him and her break out of the act of being more serious than they want to be or more nice than they want to be, to help him and her just relax and start being more real around each other and have that boyfriend-girlfriend chemistry, that lover chemistry. There's nothing wrong with talking to a woman in a serious way or a logical way, and you don't have to playfully challenge her all the time. You just add it in to help both you and her break that distance between each other and just start being more real around each other. So here's an example of a guy being nice in response to her saying that she works as a dietitian. Oh, you work as a dietitian? Oh, that's really cool. It's great that you take that much interest in health. Like, how long have you been doing that? Or a guy who's very serious all the time and wants to show that he's intelligent and he takes everything seriously. Oh, you're a dietitian. What made you get into that line of work? That's really interesting. You know, I take a lot of care of my health. I work out and I do this and I do that and blah, 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 right? He's the guy that just wants to show that he's serious, he's smart, he's got his life together and so forth. And he hopes that as a result, women are going to love him. They're going to fall for him. Like, he's a guy that has his life together, man. That means he's a high value man, right? All right, he's working out, he eats properly, he, works hard and so forth. Women are going to fall for him now. No. Part of what makes a woman begin to fall for a guy is that she can actually be herself around him. She can let loose. She can let go. She can joke around. She doesn't have to put on an act of being nicer and more reserved than she is or wants to be. She can just say funny things. She can be silly. She can touch him. He's not going to get freaked out if she reaches out and touches him because he's so serious about everything. And he's going to look at her hand and then, start thinking, okay, what does that mean and so forth. He's going to potentially say, oh, getting touchy-feely already, are we? Because they already have that type of rapport with each other, right? They're already relaxed and easygoing with each other. They are clicking right away. It's happening. Yet the thing is, sometimes a guy thinks to himself, well, I probably wouldn't be being myself if I said something a bit cheeky to a woman or a bit playfully challenging. But the reality is he has behaved in that sort of way when interacting with a close friend. All right, there has been some point in his life, or many points in his life, where he's been hanging out with friends and he said something a bit cheeky or a bit playful or made a bit of a funny remark like that. It's not as if he can't say it, he's never done it, or it's not part of who he is. It's just part of himself that he doesn't express to women, or he rarely expresses to women, because he thinks that women aren't going to like him if he says things like that. Right? He's got to be nice. Real nice, or he's got to be serious, real serious, right? He's got to show that intelligence, show that interest in her, and then she's going to like him. He doesn't know that he can get a woman to fall for him right away just by being more easygoing, being more real, helping her to be real around him. And one of the ways to do that is to use what I call playfully challenging humor. Playfully challenging humor is a type of humor that automatically displays attractive traits, such as confidence, non-neediness, being a challenge, social intelligence, and courage all at the same time. Right? It does it automatically for you. It's a very easy way to create a sexual spark between you and a woman by making her feel attracted to various traits that women look for in men. It also helps both you and her to be more easygoing and lighthearted around each other, where you immediately begin to have a boyfriend-girlfriend type of connection. You feel comfortable around each other and able to say whatever you want to say and behave in ways that you probably normally wouldn't show for the first 3 dates, 4 dates, or even longer. To be clear though, it's absolutely fine to have a logical conversation with a woman, but if a guy only has logical conversations with women, almost as though he's talking to another man, then it will usually lack the male-female spark that has to be there for a woman to be sexually and romantically interested. Likewise, if a guy is only nice and isn't willing to display any of the gritty, masculine confidence that makes women feel sexually attracted, then a woman might see him as a nice guy and like him as a person, but she just won't be experiencing a boyfriend-girlfriend vibe or a lover vibe with him. So essentially with this one here, if you want a woman to begin to fall for you on a first date, it's important that you display traits and behaviors that are going to make her feel sexually attracted to you. And women feel sexually attracted and turned on when a guy is being confident around them and has the courage, the balls, and the lack of neediness, right? He's emotionally independent to actually playfully tease her, playfully mess with her, playfully challenge her. He's not a guy who's on his best behavior trying to get a chance, and he's not Mr. Serious who wants to show that he's so intelligent, so serious, got everything together, and please choose me because of that. Instead, he has the confidence of a natural, right? A guy who's naturally good with women. A guy like that is comfortable just playfully challenging a woman during an interaction because he knows she's going to like him. She's going to be feeling attracted to his confidence. She's going to be feeling attracted to his social intelligence. She's going to be feeling attracted to his charm. She's going to be feeling attracted to the fact that he's not a needy guy. He's an emotionally independent guy. She's going to be feeling attracted to those things. She's going to be feeling attracted to him. Right? He knows that. Guys who are naturally good with women, they know that very early on and they continue it on throughout their life. Guys like me who've had to learn it, I grew to know that about myself, right? I grew to know that, okay, I am actually attractive to women because of how I'm behaving. I make them feel attracted. Women feel attracted to my confidence. Women feel attracted to the way that I make them feel. And what happens then is that you develop the confidence of a natural. You grow into that. And you're in an interaction with a woman on a date or at a bar or at a party, or you meet her through friends, wherever it may be, and you know that she's going to be feeling sparks of attraction for you. She's going to feel it. Whether or not you're compatible is another story. Whether or not you're going to be able to pick her up comes down to your level of skill of being able to handle the interaction and move it forward, right? Knowing how to go from one step to the next. But if you're behaving in an attractive way, she's going to be feeling attracted to you. And as a result, what happens is you get to the point where you're able to be more lighthearted, more easygoing, be more real, not have to put on any act because you know that the woman's going to like you. And what happens then is that women like you for the real version of you, being you and not holding anything back. You're able to be yourself around a woman, say what you feel like saying, and the woman likes you. She ends up liking you for you. Not a Mr. Nice Guy act, not a Mr. Serious, I'm so intelligent, like me because of that. Just being totally confident, having the confidence of a natural. Number 3, let her be the feminine girl she yearns to be. So if you want to get a woman to fall for you on the first date, you need to give her the feeling that she is actually yearning for around a man. And that's not to feel like she's equal in terms of dominance with him. They're just equals, right? Just a couple of buddies having a chat, right? Just equals. And it's also not she's more dominant than him, right? She looks at him, he's being nervous, he's squirming, right? She's this confident girl who knows that she's attractive and he is uncomfortable around her. She's the more dominant one, she holds all the cards. She doesn't want to be feeling that either. What she yearns to feel is a guy who respects her but sees her as the girl. Right? He doesn't see her as being equal in terms of dominance. She is important, equal in terms of importance, right? He respects her, he appreciates her and so forth, but he looks at her as less dominant than him, right? She's the girl, he's the man. Now the thing is, a lot of guys do imagine themselves being more manly and dominant around a woman, but they don't know how to do it, they are afraid to do it, or they think that women might think they are bad for doing it, right? So the guy just doesn't do it, right? He holds back and he thinks, well, I'll just be neutral. I'll just sort of talk to her and get along with her. I'll just let her have the power. Maybe she'll like me because of that. Because I've heard women say that guys are jerks, guys are assholes, guys are pricks. So I'll show her that I'm really nice. I'm really good. Like, she can do whatever she wants. I'll go along with whatever she wants to do. Sure, I don't care. Whatever you want to do, sort of thing. And hopefully she'll like me because of that. Yet deep down, what women are hoping to be able to do is let out their feminine side around you. They want to feel girly around you, and they cannot do that if you're not willing to embrace your masculinity, to take on your masculine role, to see yourself as the man and see her as the girl. To have that charming, sexually arousing dynamic between you and her, where both of you feel sexually aroused because you're able to be the man around her, she's able to be the woman. You're able to have that masculine feminine dynamic because you're embracing your masculinity. A woman can be very naturally feminine, she can be very girly, and she can have that already. But if a guy is like a deer in the headlights around her, like he doesn't know how to handle that, or he's like really nice and just, trying to get along with her like that and not be any more dominant and so forth, or if he's just very neutral around her, having a chat, trying to get along as friends, then that charming, sexually arousing dynamic between them is not going to happen. Right? That's not going to be there. It only is there if you're willing to embrace your position as the man and look at her as the girl, as the woman, as the one who is less dominant. Now, that doesn't mean a man has to dominate a woman in every situation, every conversation, every second, and he has to be this ultra dominant man and so forth. It just simply means to look at her as the girl, look at her as the woman, and to see yourself as the man. Right? She wants to be able to see that in you, that you are not afraid to be the man. And therefore, she can continue on with her femininity around you if she has that already, or she can let it out. If she's one of those women who have built up a bit of a wall and aren't very comfortable expressing their femininity, and they tend to be quite neutral. So I actually have an interesting story to share with you about a time where I met a woman who worked as a lawyer, and she was quite stern and serious when I met her, but I made her relax and open up and express her femininity. And we ended up having sex and starting a sexual relationship. So I'll tell you about that. But first, I'll mention that if you want to learn my best ever techniques for feeling confident around women, making them feel attracted to you, and going from one step to the next, in other words, from hello to a phone number, hello to a kiss, hello to sex, hello to a date, then I recommend that you read my ebook, The Flow, or listen to the audiobook version. So when I met the woman who worked as a lawyer, she was very stern and serious when I first met her. She was the sort of woman who, had that sort of demeanor about her. Oh, hi, how are you? Sort of thing, and a very serious type of approach. Yet despite that, from the start, and regardless of how she was behaving, I looked at her as being a feminine woman. I looked at her as being the woman I know she yearned to be, right? I looked at her as being the girl, right? I looked at her in a way that caused me to not only smile with my mouth, but also with my eyes, where I was looking at her and just had that love for who I knew she was deep down, who I knew she wanted to be, right, when she was around a man. Yes, she wanted to be serious in her career, and she was a serious woman. She was taken seriously. She was successful, but when she was interacting with a man, I knew she wanted to express her feminine energy. She wanted to be able to let go, right, pull that guard down, let go of the facade. Let go of the act of being Miss Serious all the time, Miss Considered, Miss Straightforward, and so forth. She wanted to be able to be a little bit silly and giggly. Also, when we were interacting, rather than just looking at her in the eyes and having a conversation like that all the time, because I was embracing my masculinity, because I was willing to be the man, regardless of how she was behaving, I was still willing to be the man. It resulted in me looking her up and down a few times during the interaction, letting her see that she was being looked at by a man. She wasn't experiencing a deer in the headlights sort of guy, interacting with her, or a guy just being serious like her and having a serious conversation all the time. There was a man looking at her as a feminine woman, right? And seeing that side of her. And it took her a couple of minutes to fully melt and believe that she was interacting with a man that could handle her. And when that happened, she started to smile, she started to play with her hair, she started to do all sorts of feminine things and show interest and start being touchy-feely and so forth. And when we started dating, she confessed to me that she found it so difficult to find a guy, to find a boyfriend, because so many guys were intimidated by her because of her approach, right? Her demeanor, the way she talked. Yet I looked at her as a feminine woman, regardless of how she was behaving, regardless of what she was saying. I knew what she wanted to feel deep down. So if you want a girl to fall for you on the first date, make sure that you're willing to help both you and her be more real around each other, rather than creating a dynamic where you're both putting on an act of being nicer than you normally are or want to be, more polite, more reserved, more cautious, and so on, or more serious, right? And having that detached sort of interaction where you're not able to just relax, be yourself, say something a bit playfully challenging at times, have that boyfriend-girlfriend chemistry from the start, right? Create that from the start, the boyfriend-girlfriend chemistry, the lover chemistry, create it from the start. Don't feel like you need to have a long, serious conversation before you eventually are allowed to start to create that boyfriend-girlfriend chemistry or that lover chemistry. As you may have noticed, if you've been talking to a woman in the past and just having a friendly conversation with her, all it takes to be pushed to the side or seen as a friend or even nothing at all is for another guy to come along and create that chemistry with her from the start. If you do that, then you're the guy that she has chemistry with. You're the guy that she starts falling for. She feels like, okay, I want a lover or boyfriend, girlfriend, or potentially husband and wife situation out of this. I'm feeling it. This is great. And finally, if you really want a girl to fall for you, then have the courage to be the man, to take on the role as being the man, to see her as the woman, to see her as the less dominant one, rather than seeing yourself as her equal in terms of dominance. It doesn't mean that you have to be overly dominant and always dominate everything and so forth. Just see yourself as the man. See her as the woman. Know that she wants to be able to be feminine and girly around you. Know that she wants that deep down. Let her express that around you, and she will fall for you the first time she meets you, because it's so difficult for her to find that anywhere else. Most guys are too nice to her, too polite, too neutral, too serious, and so on. When you're a guy who can bring out that feminine side in her, she will fall for you because that's what she really wants to be able to feel around you.